Welcome everyone to the channel. Today we're making the definitive Rocket League maps tier list, where we'll be ranking every map in Rocket League. As a preface for this video, we're only going to rank standard maps. We're not getting any Underpass or Rocket Labs or the WAC Throwback Stadium. These are the maps everyone is familiar with. As always, be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. And without further ado, let's get into it. So first up is Aquadome, which is probably the most polarizing map here. Whenever I see discussions about Aquadome, people are always talking about whether it's their most favorite or their least favorite map in Rocket League. And I think that's mainly because Aquadome has the most personality out of every single map, and in that way, it's the most unique map in Rocket League. The announcer is unique, the music is unique, and it gives kind of a fun and rambunctious vibe to Rocket League. You know, most people will experience that and be annoyed by it. But for me, I'm kind of with it. I'm with the fun vibe that Aquadome is going for, no matter if I'm sweating as hard as I can or not. So for me, I'm putting Aquadome in a B tier, not because it's not fun, but because I don't think it's the most beautiful map of all time. You know, most people will look at this, and at face value, it just doesn't look the best. Although I do love its uniqueness and fun factor. Next up, we have the Salty Shallows variation of Aquadome. Now here, we have the first instance of pitching a field, where you take a map like Aquadome that doesn't have a green soccer field on it, and you pitch it by putting a pitch on it or putting a green soccer field on it. Now, I think most people can agree with me that this is just a better looking Aquadome. The way they changed the lighting and pitched the field, it just doesn't look as ugly as regular Aquadome. That being said, to me, this is just Psyonix zapping the personality and uniqueness out of regular Aquadome. To me, they put this map out for the people that get annoyed at the announcer and the music. And as an enjoyer of the regular Aquadome, I don't like it as much. You know, it's completely fine to play on, but I like regular Aquadome better, so Salty Shallows gets C tier. Next up is Beckwith Park and its two variations. The first thing that comes to my mind when looking at this map is the crap and dirt that's all over the field. Like, if you just look at the screenshot in the tier list here, you can see all the crap that's laid all over the field. Like, they need to get someone to come in and clean it up because it doesn't look good. Other than that, to me, Beckwith Park is a perfectly fine map. It's a super standard map that I think most people will play on and just move on. Nothing about it is bad, but nothing about it is really special. So, for me, it gets a B tier for being just fine. Now, I do like the Midnight variation better because I think it hides the flaws of Beckwith with the crap on the field, and I just like the lighting better. It creates a more smooth game, so I'll put the Midnight variation in A tier, and I'll put the Stormy variation in B tier because I don't think the Stormy variation is drastically different from regular Beckwith. Now here we have a newer map, Boostfield Mall, and I gotta say, at first look, this map is incredibly polished. Like, all the newer maps do a really good job of having a distinct look, where they're polished and clearly different from the older maps. Not only in terms of how they look, but in how smooth it is to play on them. However, that's about the extent of good things I have to say about this map. For me, it's kind of too much. All of the bells and whistles can be a little distracting, and it doesn't really look that good to me. It's kind of like if you had the over-detailing of Neo Tokyo, but without any of the personality or environment. In fact, this is probably bottom 5, maybe even bottom 1 environment in the entire map. Like, when you score, it sounds like you're boarding a train. And it's not special. There's no announcer. You get generic rock music when you score or save. It's not that good. You know, it's fine to play on, but if we average it out, I'm going to put Boostfield Mall at C. Alright, and now we're at Champions Field. This is 100% the easiest ranking on this list. I don't even think I need words for Champions Field. We, yes, you and me, talking to you and everyone else, we all know that Champions Field goes into F tier. Alright, I'll stop playing around. It clearly goes in S tier. I mean, what else do you want me to do with the map that's most synonymous with Rocket League itself? Pick your most favorite or iconic moment from RLCS. It probably happened on Champions Field. Even if you're not into RLCS, pick your favorite Rocket League moment. It probably happened on Champions Field. Even if you want to remove the iconic element, which you can't, we can all just appreciate how good this map is. It looks good, it easily has the best environment with the announcer what is saving you when you're 50 on the goal line, it has great music, and it just feels like it raises the stakes of the game that you're in. You're always playing for a little more whenever you're on Champions Field. No matter how desensitized you get to each map, or the thousands of hours that'll go by without you paying attention to each map, Champions Field will always stick out in the best way possible. It's in contention for the best map in Rocket League, so both variations easily get S. Following that up, we have Deadeye Canyon. To be honest, whenever I played this map, there was some of the Salty Shores effect, where you get flashbanged while playing. In general, this map is pretty bright, which can sometimes play mind games on you, I guess. However, I think I like this map more than most people would. It's a very standard and memorable map that was unique when it came out, and to me, it still holds up, so I guess I'll put it into B tier. Now, I do have to talk about the Oasis or pitched variation differently than the regular Deadeye Canyon, because they're much different as variations. You know, where Champions Field and Champions Field Day are kind of the same map, the Oasis variation is worlds different than regular Deadeye Canyon, and for good reason. I mean, just playing this map a lot consistently reminds me of how it fixes all of Deadeye Canyon's flaws. Where the sun might blind you, or the color palette is monochromatic and the same and dry, Oasis fixes all of those in the best way. It's a nice sunset, and pitch in the field is actually really appropriate for this map. And when you zoom out at the gameplay, which is incredibly smooth by the way, you get the most beautiful and best looking map in Rocket League. I think my opinion deviates from most Rocket League players on this map because I'm more of a nature appreciator, but the next time you play on this map, just look around and see how nice it looks. It really captures a beautiful hot summer sunset in, I don't know, Arizona perfectly. Now, most people won't care for that, and that's fine, but this map is just a personal favorite for me. Not only does it fix Deadeye Canyon, but it stays true to it without removing what makes Deadeye Canyon good. So for me, this is my platform to give Deadeye Canyon Oasis S tier. Alright, DFH is up next, and it covers a wide range of tiers since it has the most variations of any map. I'll start with regular DFH. I don't really have that much to say about regular DFH, which is kind of a good thing. It's a staple of Rocket League, and the fact that it's been here forever, it's incredibly standard, and you won't have any problem playing on it. Nothing is incredibly distracting, and you'll just get your standard Rocket League game, nothing special. My opinion on DFH is kind of the same as my opinion on Beckwith Park, so regular DFH gets B tier. And on that note, the Stormy variation also gets B tier. I think these two maps are the exact same, so might as well put it in B tier. Now, this is just me, but I think the Day variation is a step above regular DFH. I know regular DFH is at sunset, and I was just glazing Deadeye Canyon Oasis for how good it looks at sunset, but I think the Day variation looks better and is more memorable. I know that's me cherry picking what I do and don't like about maps, but I think most people will agree with me in that this is the one that sticks in their mind the most as the best looking and most smooth variation of DFH, so it goes a step above in A tier. The next variation that I'll go to is the 10th anniversary DFH Stadium. First thing I gotta say, not a fan. My complaints with this map mainly just stems from how it just seems like a Walmart Champions Field. I'm surprised this is even a DFH variation because there's nothing in this map that ties it to DFH Stadium. They tried to recreate the gravitas that Champions Field brings, but just made it worse in every way. You know, for one, the announcer is probably the worst out of every map. Now, the real life person who's responsible for voice acting as the Rocket League announcer in this map is Shogun, who's an incredible and iconic caster. They just did him so dirty in this map. I know there are only so many ways to say great save or what a save or nice shot, but it genuinely takes away from my gameplay to hear the stuff that they made him say. I'll put the 10th anniversary variation into D tier because while I don't like it, it's not the worst that Rocket League has to offer. The last DFH variation is the Circuit one, and I regret saving this one for last because now I have to expel all of my negative thoughts about this map. I'll start with how it looks. If you look at just the outside screenshot of DFH, you might say to yourself, oh, this doesn't look that bad, it looks pretty normal. You are wrong. If you've never played on this, you are lucky. Let me introduce you to the most janky and off-putting map in Rocket League. The racetrack around the map looks garbage. The middle of the field looks garbage. The stuff behind the goals looks garbage. Everything looks garbage. You know, for a season that's supposed to give a vibe of racing and high-octane gameplay and fast movement, this looks like you're just walking into a car dealership. I mean, I can't go hard enough into how bad it looks, but also how it mentally affects you. I feel like my car movement is slow and clunky because this map looks so bad. Even if you wanted to find any silver linings with this map, there are none. No announcer, music is mid, sound effects are mid, and it's all just layered onto a map that's disguised as cool, but if you actually play on it, you hate yourself. I can't believe I had the misfortune of playing this map for multiple seasons and having to do my best to ignore how bad this map looks. This map will solidly be placed in F tier. Now that I've got that out of my system, we can move on to Driftwoods. Driftwoods is cool, I guess. I don't know. To be completely honest, I don't have that much to say about Driftwoods. I think both variations are fine with smooth gameplay, which is standard for a Rocket League map. There's nothing great about this map, and there's nothing that's bad, so that's the epitome of C tier for both Driftwoods maps. Up next is Estadio Vida, and it's a pretty cool map. I think it's great that Rocket League incorporates global cultures as maps instead of creating the same stadiums over and over again. I think this is supposed to be Brazil or Mexico, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong here, but that's beside the point. Estadio Vida is just a clean, bright, easy map to play on. Good environment, good music, good sound effects. Nothing about it is outstanding, so this map is a quintessential B tier for me. Now, here we have a Rocket League classic, Farmstead, and its 3 other variations. Out of every map here, I feel like I played Farmstead the most, since it's always been a map that's in ranked rotation. My opinion here is firm. It's bad, bro. I mentioned earlier that Beckwith Park has garbage stains on it, and they need to clean it up. They need to do this to the entirety of Farmstead. All of the mud streaks here and stains, and everything just looks bad. It's supposed to look dirty since it's a farm, but I don't like it. I think it's a pretty good indication of whether a map looks good or not to everyone if you see it in RLCS or not. You don't want to see pros playing on a map that looks bad. For Farmstead specifically, I don't think it's ever been a part of rotation. Maybe once or twice, but you will rarely see pros clipping in RLCS on Farmstead. You think that's a coincidence? No, the clip would be ruined if they were on this map. There are some silver linings like the environment, music, and announcer. It's on a nice sunset with some greenery around it, and the music and announcer fit perfectly with the arena. If I'm being completely honest, it's pretty smooth for a Rocket League map, and I've never had any complaints about gameplay on it. I don't hate it as much as other maps at the bottom, but I'm holding it to higher standards since I see it in every season so many times. So I'll put it into D tier. Now for the other variations, I think the night one is almost the exact same, so it also gets D tier, and the spooky one is just worse. I don't think the spooky one was ever put in a ranked rotation, but it literally affects gameplay with your screen because of the event it was tied to. I can't think of a single person on planet Earth that would like to play with this gameplay hindrance, so it goes into F tier. The last Farmstead variation is the pitched one, and I'm glad that they nailed this one. Pitching a map is high risk because you might end up making a map where the field looks so out of place and it just looks ugly. However, I'm glad that they pitched Farmstead. Out of every map that doesn't have a pitch on it, this map is the most appropriate to be pitched. I don't know about you, but it makes sense to me to put some grass on a farm. Earlier, I said that they need to clean up everything in Farmstead. This is literally the version of that map where everything is cleaned up. This isn't even anything revolutionary, they literally just changed the floor of the map and put some grass on the map. Because of that, I'm putting this map in the S tier. You might think that's a joke, like you get an S tier because of some grass, but I cannot express the difference this makes in the map. All of the silver linings that I mentioned before are just enhanced by putting grass on the field. It sounds ridiculous, but the announcer, the music, the environment, the sunset, the vibe are all enhanced by how good the map looks now. Straight up, it's just one of the most pleasant maps to play on, and I'm glad that they redeemed Farmstead. Forbidden Temple is up next, and it's a great map. One thing about this map that surprised me is when it was released. I feel like this map is a classic to me, but it was released 5 years after Rocket League was released. That says a lot about the map. That reaction made me realize how good Forbidden Temple has aged as a map. Not only was it an instant classic when it dropped, but it's still an instant classic 6 years later, and it will be forever. It's a classic because it's great at everything it does. It's a good looking map with no drawbacks. It's also one of the most unique maps in Rocket League. And the thing that vaults it over so many maps is the culture. Earlier I mentioned Estadio Vida being great with incorporating global cultures, but this one takes it up a notch. The ambiance when loading in, the music, and every single part of the stadium is just awesome. I think Forbidden Temple is one of the best maps in Rocket League, and it's been like that for a long time, so both variations get S tier. Forbidden Temple has one more variation, which is the Fire and Ice one. Like the Spooky Farmstead one, I don't think it's ever been in rotation, so I'll just keep this one short. It looks kinda cool, but it's hard to play on, and Ruins Forbidden Temple. D tier. Futura Garden is up next, and this is an interesting one. You can clearly tell it's a new map just based on how polished everything looks. That's a common through line with every map, and there's so many changes in lighting and different textures that it just looks incredibly polished. And looking really polished really helps with the gameplay as well. I know I've been mentioning smooth gameplay a lot, but this one is just at another level. I don't know how the devs did it, but the way this map is constructed makes car movement so smooth and fluid. However, I have one critique, and it's that the stadium does look a little weird. Also, it's not the best environment of all time. If you look at the maps in S tier, they all have unique environments that really enhance your experience playing on them. I like Futura Garden, and I can already tell that this map will have the classic Rocket League map status, but I think it needs to get there first. I think this map needs to age a little bit before I put it into S tier, so it goes into A tier. Alright, now we got Manfield. Straight up, I love Manfield. It's my training map, and I just chose it that way because bar none, it's the cleanest map in Rocket League. Not incredible, not flashy, just clean. I think everybody looks at this as just a vanilla regular Rocket League map, but I'm not gonna lie, the simpleness moves me. It does wonders for people like me who just want a clean and smooth field to play on. I mean, to be honest, this map just doesn't have any drawbacks unless you're of the opinion you want a really cool map to play on. Like, that's the only argument I can think of against Manfield. And because of that, you'll never see anyone saying that Manfield is their favorite map, but it's just a Rocket League classic to a T. Smooth gameplay and stadium since day one. I love Manfield so much. It gets S tier. Now, I will say that all the variations are essentially the same. None of them drastically change Manfield. I think the night one is equally as good as regular Manfield, but the other two can drop to A tier since I don't like the lighting as much. Still awesome maps, just not S tier. So we've got Neo Tokyo next, and I have a hard time forming a strong opinion on this map. Like, on one hand, it's been in the game forever, and it's one of the most distinct and recognizable maps. On the other hand, I just don't like how it looks. Like, zooming out of game-to-game gameplay, if you look at this map, it looks so cluttered and all over the place. I know that's the point, I just don't like it that way, which is fine since other parts of this map are good, like the music and the announcer. I mean, despite all of this, I'm so absent-minded when playing Neo Tokyo, which is a good thing. To me, it's just a pretty good map. It's not the pinnacle of Rocket League, but it's pretty decent, so I'll give it B tier. Now, I do and don't like how the variations of Neo Tokyo are drastically different from the original. Like, it's cool that they're going for new things, and this is probably the most experimental that Rocket League is going to get with trying new stuff, but some of them are bad. The comic version actively hurts my eyes while playing it for too long. That would net it an automatic F for disrupting gameplay, but to be honest, it looks dope. I think that this would be an A tier map without the assault it does on my eyes, so I'll give it a slight bump in the D tier. The hacked version just looks bad. Nothing else to say, D tier. And for the arcade version, I heavily mess with it. It's almost as if you pitched Neo Tokyo and then just made everything cleaner and made the map less busy. It's the lo-fi version of Neo Tokyo, and I enjoy playing on it so much more when I think of it that way, so it goes into A tier. Now I've gotten to the most notorious map in Rocket League, Neon Fields. I know I have the absolute strongest opinion on this map out of every single map in this tier list. Just going around consensus of the internet, most people have this as one of their least favorite maps in Rocket League, and I absolutely 100% agree with this. Let's just go through a thought exercise for a bit. You know how you look back on a specific game or season and you have nostalgia? For me, it was Prime Fortnite, Prime LEGO Star Wars, the 2-week Minecraft server, or Rainbow Six Siege with the boys. Everyone has that game where they look back 5 years and they have good memories. That is completely the opposite of Rocket League Season 2. I look back on the season, and I think about how much of an L this season was. This whole season was a 4-month-long ad for the most annoying song of all time. And to this day, it lives in my head rent-free. For those of you who don't know, Neon Fields was released in Season 2, and since Season 2 is an ad for the worst song of all time, this map is also a 5-minute ad for that same irritating song. You have a literal giant speaker on the ceiling that's playing the song as ambience the entire time you're playing. And if you don't have player anthems equipped, you're just hearing Flip Reset the entire time. Now, I'm just describing one aspect of the map, so you would think that everything else wouldn't be just as bad, but Psyonix outdid themselves with this map. I hate the environment because that's what I noticed the most, but equally as bad is the lighting. Everyone has the exact same problem, where you can't gauge where your car is, and you can't gauge the depth of the map because the lighting is an abomination. But wait, there's more! The map looks buns! It looks so bad! I haven't met a single person that thinks this EDM concert of a map is tough. But that's gotta be it, right? It's a relatively new map, so the gameplay must be passably smooth, right? No! Worst of all, it feels awful to play on this map. This map design doesn't even let you play normally. It feels so slow because the lighting is so bad. To be honest, Neon Fields outdoes itself like 7 times for having the worst aspects of a map. I cannot remember another Rocket League map that actually made me sigh when I got it in queue. You might think that's not that big of a deal, but remember, I have way too many hours in this game. I know that every single map is the exact same game, and thousands of games have just blended into each other, without me caring about the map. This is the only map that's actively made me not like playing on it. I literally cannot express enough how much of a slog it is to play this map. I really wish I could add an F- tier, but I'll just stick this into F tier. Just know that, bar none, this is the worst map in Rocket League. Now that we can finally move on and never think about this terrible map again, we can look at the Paris map. And I'm glad that this map is after Neon Fields because we can just purge all of the negative things about Neon Fields with how many positive things are in this map. You know, I'm a simple man. You put one of the most iconic monuments in the world on a map, make the park environment look nice, have a guy that sounds French announce goals, I'm happy. If you have a stadium environment, nice lighting, and very smooth gameplay, I'm satisfied. I don't have too much to say about this map because it's so simple. It's just a stadium with a park in the Eiffel Tower, but that's the reason why this map is so good. Sometimes maps do way too much to try and look good, but the simplicity of this map is just so awesome. Weirdly enough, this map is very new, and in general, I feel like a map has to age before calling it a classic. However, this is already one of the best maps in Rocket League. It doesn't need to age, and I wish Rocket League did this more. They just made an incredibly simple and smooth map to play on without being extra. I love this map, it gets S tier. So next up is Salty Shores, and I think this one is a bit of a controversial map. And that's because most people have the sun blinding them the entire match. This is true, and when your camera's facing the sun, it can get annoying. But honestly, for me, it isn't that much of a gameplay detractor as other maps can be. Apart from just looking at the lighting, I think this map is pretty decent. The vibe that this map is going for is very clear, and it achieves it very well. Everyone is familiar with the summer beach aesthetic, and they did it very well. The sand as the floor, the beach right next to you, the boardwalk around you, it's awesome. For this map, I think the haters of this map do have a point with the sun, so I'll put it in B tier because it's a good map that's flawed. It can join Deadeye Canyon as a good map that blinds you. And since the night version doesn't blind you, it goes into A tier. Now we have another pitched map, the Salty Fest version, and this is a good case study into pitching a map. Almost all of the pitched map on this list are decent to amazing, with the lowest version at C tier. But other than that, all of them are A or S tier. Salty Fest is the opposite, and it's a good case study into pitching a map because this is what happens when pitching goes wrong. In every single pitched map, they pretty much make the entire floor green. Even if the map doesn't look that good, it at least looks clean and uniform. But for whatever reason, they left some sand in to remind us that this is still Salty Shores, although it looks nothing like it. They half-pitched the field, and the result is one of the ugliest and worst looking maps to play on. Also, they added this gigantic runway. What's the point of this? This is straight up one of the ugliest features in a map ever. I don't even know why it's here, but it takes up half the map. And also, I don't even know what this map is trying to be. For most of the maps, we can just look at it and get the idea. Oh, this is a stadium, this is an arcade, this is a city, this is a farm. I can't even look at this map and understand what it's trying to be. We've got stadium, mixed with a concert, mixed with the beach, mixed with the park. It's just way too much. This is what happens when you think you're cooking but you just burnt the food. Overall, this is a half measure of a map in the worst way. I do not like playing on this map at all, and that combined with how bad it looks will land Salty Fest right into F tier. Sovereign Heights is up next, and straight up, this is the most mid map of all time. Not mid in a bad way, or a good way, just mid. I can't think of another map that's the epitome of mid more than Sovereign Heights. I play on this map, I'm like, okay. I don't play on this map, I'm still like, okay. I've never met a single person that's ever had an opinion about this map, and it's probably the least talked about map of all time. I follow in that because I don't have anything to say about this map, it just looks fine. It's the definition of mid, so it goes into C tier. Now up next is another notorious map, for bad reasons. Just going by community census again, a lot of people have Starbase Arc as their least favorite map due to problems with lighting that affects gameplay. But I'ma keep it a buck, I really like this map. Maybe it's different lighting settings or something different with my monitor, but I just don't have the problems that most people have when it comes to playing on this map. I think the space aesthetic is awesome, and to me, I just see a cooler version of Rocket Labs. That being said, it's not the best map of all time. I can attest to the insane whiplash when you go from the dark mode, non-existent lighting here, to Deadeye Canyon or Salty Shores blinding you. Overall, I like this map. I think that's a bit controversial for a lot of people, but it's going into A tier. Urban Central is up next, with 2 variations. I don't have that much to say about Urban Central because it's a pretty basic map. It's just a Rocket League classic that looks fine. Everyone knows Urban Central for what it is. If you hate this map, I don't even know what you can hate about it. It's just a perfectly normal, straightforward, smooth city map. It goes into B tier. Now, the 2 variations aren't different at all. Both of them are just a dark mode slider on the exact same map. Me personally, I'm a fan of dark maps, so these 2 maps move me compared to regular Urban Central. To me, they're just better versions of Urban Central. So the Dawn variation can go into A tier, and the Night variation goes into S tier. All these maps are good, but I think the Night variation is just head and shoulders above the rest, purely off my bias towards dark maps. Alright, now we got Utopia Coliseum, and it's just another Rocket League classic. I have nothing different to say about this map than Urban Central or DFH or Manfield. It's just a good, smooth Rocket League map. I do like this map a little bit more than Urban Central though. There's a lot of hidden detail in this map that just looks awesome. Also, weirdly enough, the old Roman vibe of Utopia Coliseum is really enjoyable to play on. With all of this, it's just a straightforward, smooth Rocket League classic. It gets A tier. The Dust variation can also get A tier since it's the same thing to me. Now I won't lie, the Gilded variation is kinda distracting, but it's still a good map. I think it's a little bit worse than regular Utopia, so I'll put it in B tier. Lastly, we have Wasteland. I hold almost the exact same opinion for Wasteland as I do for Sovereign Heights. I think this map is incredibly mid. Not bad mid or good mid, just mid. Now that I think about it, that's actually kinda bad because of how long this map has been out. It should be a Rocket League classic, but I don't think Wasteland is at that level at all. Maybe some people think the Mad Max vibe is tight, but what I see in this map is Salty Shores mixed with the Gulag. It looks fine, which will just lend itself to C tier. The Night variation and the Pitched variation are also the same, they're just mid. They can join regular Wasteland and C tier. And with that, we finish our Rocket League map tier list. If you agree or disagree with anything, please leave a comment down below. Other than that, make sure to like and subscribe, and ring that bell for the next video. Until next time, peace.